Yes, I'm a millennial, but I'm not what the media thinks I am. In fact, none of the millennials I know are like what the media thinks.
Welcome to TaraElla News, where we examine the latest political and cultural news from the perspective of a new communitarianism, where we set out to start again and rebuild the institutions that make our social fabric stronger. Subscribe if you're interested. Today, I want to talk about a discussion that I've seen quite a few times in recent weeks. The idea that Pete Buttigieg doesn't represent millennials well, or even that he is a boomer in millennial skin, whatever that may mean. I find that odd for several reasons. Firstly, when Mayor Pete first launched his campaign, he was all about representing millennials. Secondly, as a millennial myself, I find Mayor Pete's attitude pretty typical of my generation and certainly very relatable. If some people think that Pete is somehow not millennial enough, then I guess the problem is that they probably have the wrong idea of how millennials are supposed to be like. And that's, in fact, quite common. Let me explain. Firstly, we must remember where the term millennial came from and which people are supposed to be millennials. The word millennial was first popularized by a book published about 20 years ago, which used this word to describe a generation of people born in the 1980s and later. They were called millennials because they would come of age in the new millennium. The book studied people born around 1981 to 1986, people of the same age as Mayor Pete, his fellow millennial candidate Tulsi Gabbard, and of course, other less accomplished millennials like myself. The book concluded that millennials were particularly community-orientated and were generally positive people rather than cynical like Generation X. The authors proceeded to compare millennials to what they called the greatest generation, those who fought in World War II. Fast forward 20 years, I see these characteristics in both Mayor Pete and Tulsi. They are both positive, community-orientated, and want to bring people together rather than divide people, even if they may have quite different policy platforms. Furthermore, growing up with fellow members of the millennial generation, I have also seen these characteristics commonly reflected in the people I grew up with. The authors of the word millennial certainly made correct observations about millennials, and leaders like Mayor Pete and Tulsi are exactly what the book predicted our generation would produce. So what's with all the commentary that young people don't like Pete, so he's somehow a boomer? First and foremost, it's mostly propaganda nonsense. But then, they do base it on poll numbers. However, if you look closely, you will find that they have used the wrong numbers. When describing millennial preferences, some people still use the under 30 section of the polls or attitudes found on college campuses. But the fact is, the majority of millennials are over 30, and relatively few are still in college. The vast majority of college students today are Zoomers, not millennials. Therefore, those articles were actually referring to Zoomers rather than millennials. As for whether Mayor Pete is popular among Zoomers, I can't comment too much because I am not too familiar with Zoomer culture myself. However, I know that many Zoomers like Tulsi Gabbard too, so the communitarian attitude of us millennials appears to be popular among at least some Zoomers. The point is, the media is creating fake generation wars while they don't even understand the culture of each generation or even how old each generation is right now. The fact is, us millennials don't want to be part of any generation war. We are mostly way too communitarian-minded to hate on other generations. What we want is to bring people together and help build stronger communities. In helping to carry the message of our generation to the mainstream, Mayor Pete is representing us very well, and so is Tulsi, even if they may be doing it in different ways. That's all for today. I'll be back next time to discuss another big idea. Subscribe if you want to follow our story. The transcripts are available on the internet. And remember to resist the hive mind and stay individualistic. The world depends on it.